There we go. My mic was off. All right. Cool. Welcome to another live stream on Friday. I'm going to check the sound though on our YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. I know the sound's working on TikTok because we've been talking here. Thank you for joining. We're going to do some updates to start like we do every Friday. And then we are going to talk about a topic. I should have added the topic to the stream, but we're going to talk about board game conventions. So then we are going to we're live there. Perfect. All right. I'm going to add a comment here on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch just so everyone knows what we're talking about. Talking about board game conventions today. But first, we're going to start with some updates with our store. So we've been open this is our 4th full week open. And it's been really awesome to get to know a lot of people in the community. It's been really cool to see a lot of people come back to the store, both to buy some games, whatever it is, whether it's Pokemon board games, our role-playing games. It's also been really awesome to see people come back to the store to play some games. Ooh, I'm just moving this around. All right, there we go. We have our D&D nights on Thursdays, which we just had last night. We kind of have 2 campaigns going. They're pretty consistent. They've been the same campaign the last 3 weeks. We're looking for a 3rd DM, so if anyone's watching in Los Angeles near the West Hills area would like to be a DM, reach out to me. We reward DMs with store credit, and of course, they don't have to pay for our play space fee, which is $5. But then you can use that $5 towards a purchase the same day. So that's our D&D nights. Thursdays or Saturdays are board game days. We've been steadily growing board game days. Those are our least busy events so far. But again, we're still new, so we're still growing. We have a couple groups come each week. Tomorrow will be our 3rd week of board game days. We also joined Meetup, so that's kind of been helping with that event. And then Sundays are Pokemon Day. So every Sunday we have a course or a class from 12 to 1. This Sunday we're teaching very new players how to play Pokemon. So we have the Battle Academy kit, and we're going through a 1-hour session on learning how to play Pokemon. They get the kit, and they also get each a pack. So those are kind of updates with the store. I don't have a lot more. I'm looking over here because the screen for the computer's over there, and then there's someone outside. There's always stuff going on in the mornings. The last couple lives we've received deliveries in the mornings during our live stream, and I had to get up and just go open the door for our delivery drivers. Will be another update that's kind of not directly related to what we're doing in the store. We will be releasing our video cast here soon. This next week, I'm going to start reaching out to guests because I have a list of few guests who are interested in being on the show. Hi, Crazy Golem. Thank you for following on TikTok here. I hope you can go to PAX someday, hopefully soon. It's in November, I believe. November every year. Well, let's go into that. Let's talk about board game conventions. So that's our topic for today. I'd love to hear from you. I don't know if I can do this, and TikTok's a little strange. I wish I could do it on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch too. But I'm gonna do a poll and see if this stays up and if we get enough people to answer. So, smiley face. I've been to a convention before. A frowny face. I have not been to a convention before. If you're watching on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitch, you can go on to TikTok and vote. I know not everyone likes all the different platforms, but we try to make it easy so we're on a few different ones at the same time. So we have been to. Well, let's start with. I personally have been to probably about 7 board game conventions. There was a lot that I went to in Taiwan that were not a board game convention that we think of like Origins or Gen Con or PAX Unplugged. Those are like huge. I want to say like 60 to 70, 80,000 people attend those conventions. The ones in Taiwan I went to, some of them were just one day conventions. And then there was one that called the Moonlight Festival that was a multi-day of convention. I think it was 2 days usually. Usually it started on the Saturday and you would stay overnight. Well, at least for the first convention, you would stay overnight and sleep on the convention floor in a different area where the exhibit hall was. And then you would get up and attend the convention the next day. We did that one year and that was tough. We slept on a very hard floor in a tent in the separate area. Um, and the next year we got a hotel just across the street, and it was well worth doing that versus sleeping on the floor. I think we had thought that sleeping on the floor would allow us to get more game time in. Um, but really, it probably took away from game time because we weren't as well rested the next day as we could have been from a hotel room. Um, that was, I think, kind of our first like convention. I don't know. It's hard to like really say what a convention is. We had attended something before in Taiwan called a board game playtest festival, or I don't know if it was called a convention or festival. Not sure how they translated it to English, but all the publishers in the area brought their games, and you could go and play test their games. There were probably like 60 publishers at this event. Got a couple comments on Facebook. Hey, Andrew, thank you for joining. I got to attend Gamma, and I saw Andrew at Gamma. That was really cool. And then Wacky Taps Tavern, thank you for joining, and cheers. I'll cheers my coffee. It's a little too early for I think beer, and I don't drink beer anymore, just coffee. But that was so our first convention, I guess if you call it a convention or whatever, it's kind of weird just because of translation things with Taiwan. The convention that I mentioned actually translated to English as festival, but it was pretty much a board game convention. Um, and we attended a lot of small things like that. Taiwan had a lot of like just one day conventions or one day board game, like, uh, yeah, I guess you would call it a convention. Um, and then when we moved back to the United States in 2019, I went to my first like major convention. And Craziest Golem mentioned this one, PAX Unplugged. That was so awesome. Really fun time. I attended that convention as a media person, so I interviewed people at the convention, and we created a podcast episode about it. I asked everyone one specific question on what do you think games can teach you, because our podcast was board gaming with education. You can go back and search that. You could probably search board game with education PAX Unplugged. You can find that episode and listen to it if you really want to. It is an older episode, but there's definitely some valuable nuggets in that episode. Um, and just, I guess, to kind of share a tip, if you're a content creator and you're looking to attend board game conventions, how you might go about that. Um, all of them have a page that you can request a media badge through. Um, for us, it really helps at the time, and I mean, it still is something we are unique in the board game space compared to a lot of other places. I think there are other places who share kind of an educational angle, but that's a pretty strong focus of what we do. And with our podcast, we're board game with education. So we really put forward that is how we were different as a media content creator at the time, because we were not thousands of views on YouTube. We had our podcast. Our podcast got maybe 300, 400 downloads a month. So nothing crazy either. But because our angle was pretty unique, I think we were given the media or granted the media badge at PAX Unplugged. All the conventions likely have different rules and policies for who they grant badges to. And I'm not sure if PAX at the time was just granting them to anyone who asked and they had a legit like media presence. I know I've seen other conventions for content creators have reached out to particular conventions and they've been denied media badges. So I think just as a tip, that would be one thing I would suggest is like, well, how can you show that you're going to be doing something a little bit different than what the other media people are doing there, especially if you don't have a large following just yet. Um, so that was our first like big board game convention. I have to move the screen over here. This is our temporary streaming setup for in the store. Eventually, I want to go back to those tables, but we need a better setup. I think like computer because our main computer's over here. Hi JSW Swart. Thank you for joining. Hey Robbie Peril, thank you for joining on TikTok here. Um, we're talking about board game conventions. That's our topic for the day. Every week we do a live stream from the store, share some updates about BGE's tabletop, and then we talk about a specific topic. So we're talking about PAX Unplugged. That was our first big board game convention in 2019. Um, we wanted to go to other conventions, but like a lot of people who wanted to attend a lot of conventions, when we moved back to the States, the pandemic hit. So we had to uh, not go to conventions. We attended some online conventions, which was really cool. There's um, one big one that we attended, and it's maybe not a convention, a conference. It's by University XP. It's a game-based learning conference, but it's very game-based, so it kind of almost feels like a convention. And that was very much the focus on games for learning. We attended that virtually. Trying to think of some other ones that we attended. Um, Wacky Tabix Tavern says we'll be going to Gen Con for the first time this year. It'll be our first big convention we've gone to just enjoy it. Yes, go to go to your first convention. That's a really good tip to just enjoy it. That's one thing that was not like a regret because I'm really happy I did go as a content creator or media person at PAX Unplugged, but it always hung over my head that I needed to create content in the moment. I never really, there was a few times where I really got to just enjoy some games and live in the moment of the convention. But a lot of times back in my head, I'm always thinking about like, I need to record more content. I need to do something for the podcast. Okay, you've gone Wacky Tavern on Twitch mentioned gone to uh other conventions as vendors. So that is a very, very different experience as a vendor. And I think I mentioned that as a content creator, I had a little bit of time to enjoy games. As a vendor, you have zero time to really enjoy games, especially if you're the vendor, like the one running the vending booth or whatever. If you're there working and like helping a booth out, then you'll have some break time and you'll have a chance to go like check out the convention. But if you're like the one running the booth. Like for us as a game store, we're owning the booth, so we have to run that convention. Robbie, thank you uh, for the likes and the good luck, and thank you for the well wishes. Um, cool. I think we had PAX Unplugged, Board Game Media, and then just like wacky. Oh man, I need glasses. Tabaxi Tavern. I think I read that right. Um, Hey, Bowser Retro Cafe, thank you for joining. We're talking about board game conventions. So if you've been to a board game convention, let us know which one you've gone to. Um, so during the pandemic, a lot of virtual conferences or conventions. I don't think we really attended like a big virtual one for the whole weekend. We did Ragecon, which is one in Reno, Nevada, and that is coming up in July. They're coming back to their first in-person convention since the pandemic, and um, we did that virtually. That was maybe the only one that we really kind of attended each day of the convention. But a lot of them we kind of just checked out. We watched them live. Ooh, Tantrum Con. They do a really cool convention. Very interactive with their community too. But they're back in person as well. So now that the pandemic kind of subsided a bit, we started going to conventions as a game store, and that was kind of towards our same tradition transition as we grew into a game store. So we started attending conventions that way. So we originally just started uh so Wacky Tabaxi Tavern. I think you got it. Okay. So we first did some like pop-ups in the area. This is how we first started selling in person, because originally we were an e-commerce store. We went from podcast to hosting events in Taiwan to e-commerce store in LA to physical store. Hey Carrie, thank you for joining. I think Carly. Um and now we hosted some like local pop-ups. So the very first thing we did to sell in person, we set up a table at a local cafe and we sold games and talked about games there with people who visited the cafe. And we started doing some stuff like that. And then eventually we started attending conventions with our booth. We did a convention called Strategicon. We also did LA Comic Con. That was a huge, like crazy busy convention, very expensive, but worth it in a sense of not direct sales. So if you go to a big convention, um, and I think we could do some things differently to make it worthwhile for direct sales impact and make it worth it that way. But we lost money at the convention. However, I think it had a long term impact on our brand and our sales down the road, because we generated, or we gained close to 1,000 followers across our social media. We had some customers order through us after the convention. We had customers who knew about us before the convention. They were saw us at the convention, and then also kind of now knew us as a bigger first place space. We call it first place space. I think that's what it's called. It's the place you think about first when you think about buying a particular product. And I think we became that for those customers because of that experience of seeing us first at a kiosk in the mall, then at the convention, and now they knew us. They're like, okay, he's the guy that sells us Pokemon cards. So that was really worthwhile. Again, down the road with LA Comic Con. Um, and now we have our store. We're fully open as our retail space. And we had passed on an opportunity to attend a convention as a store last weekend. I think it was last weekend, at Strategicon, because we're not really staffed up to do that. We do not have the capacity to do that yet, but we will eventually attend some conventions as a store while we're still running our store. Um, that'll be down the road. Now, maybe we can talk about some fun stuff for a few minutes. Is attending a convention as just a convention goer, like you're going to have some fun. What are some like tips, or what are some things you do? If you have suggestions, leave a comment. Love to hear what you suggest. For me, I love to walk. Even I do this even as when I went to, oh, that's one convention. We went to Gamma as well. That's a retail industry focused. Like publishers are there. You have to be a retail store owner or publisher or designer to be able to attend, or media person now. Um, and so we attended that as a retail store owner. And even as a retail store owner or just going for fun, one thing I really like to do is just walk every single aisle of the convention hall, like the exhibit hall, where everyone has their booth set up. I like to do it the first time and not really stop much unless I see something that really catches my eye and I really want to stop. But I try to limit how often I stop at different booths, because I just want to get a lay of the area and see what's around, see what vendors are there, um, and then maybe the next day or later that day I'll go back to some particular spaces. I like to also maybe walk that exhibit hall a second time and spend a bit more time at each booth. Um, I know I have a friend named Dave. He likes to, at PAX Unplugged, he likes to spend a lot of time in the first look space. So this is an area at PAX Unplugged. At least it was there in 2019. I don't know if they still do it because I have not attended in a while, but I'm sure they do, and I'm sure other conventions have something similar. It's where all new games that either maybe have not even been released to the public yet, like, and maybe cannot even buy them yet, but they have some like final proof copies, or games that like just came out are available to go play. So my friend at PAX Unplugged, I think is, or PAX East. I think he goes to PAX East and does this. He spends all his time there. Um, I would like to do that. I think that would be something I would enjoy. But I also don't want to miss out on the exhibit hall. A lot of conventions have like really cool talks and panels and stuff. That's something I like to maybe scope out to before, like a couple days before. I try to make a list of the ones I want to attend each day and have an idea of where they are, when they are, what day. I don't necessarily attend them all, but I like to just have a list of ones that I would like to see. I might like really highlight or circle some that I do not want to miss. So they're very important. Some other things that a lot of people share with conventions is making sure you have hand sanitizer, especially now during the pandemic, but even before, a lot of people mentioned that. Um, it's probably good, I mean, to wear a mask just for the sake of not getting sick after a convention. It's called con crud. It's when everyone gets, well, not everyone, but a lot of people get sick from the convention and then like leaving the convention. I got that really bad at PAX Unplugged. I had to like sleep in one day, and I almost missed one full day of it. Um, but yeah, I don't know if if anyone has any other tips for conventions attending as a person. But that's really all I have. I can't think of anything else to talk about as far as conventions go. But yeah, so every Friday, we are live in the store. One thing that we're always looking for guests. If you want to come and you're in Los Angeles, you want to be on the stream, you want to chat about a topic, do it in person. I have other mics that I can bring, and we can talk about a topic. With TikTok, I just use this mic, so we'll have to use the phone microphone. Um, but any topic, anything related to games, and we'll just chat for a bit. Looking for guests for the stream. We're also looking for guests for our video cast, which we'll be releasing here soon. We kind of have had a lot of things going on, so we're finally at the point where we could reach out to people and start recording episodes. So super excited for that. And we'll be back next Friday. If you have topic suggestions, send me a message, send me an email, games@boardgamingwitheducation.com. And we'll see you next week. I'm going to close off our